On a crisp autumn evening in Georgia, the ordinary rhythm of daily life masked a dark and ominous undercurrent. Dee Ann Warner, a young woman known for her warmth and resilience, was winding down her day when she sent what would become the last text anyone would ever receive from her. The message, seemingly innocent and routine, would soon take on a haunting significance, a digital breadcrumb leading to a mystery that would grip her community and confound law enforcement. Dee Ann had been living a life that, on the surface, seemed unremarkable. Friends described her as kind-hearted, someone who valued family above all else. But beneath the calm exterior, she had recently confided in a close friend about feeling uneasy. Strange phone calls, unfamiliar faces in her neighborhood, and fleeting suspicions of being followed had left her on edge. Despite this, she maintained her routines, unaware that these small signals were the early warnings of a danger that would change everything. The night she disappeared, Dee Ann's movements were meticulously traced by investigators through surveillance cameras and phone records. She visited a local convenience store, chatted briefly with the clerk, and then returned home. Her text, sent just hours later, was innocuous, a simple check-in with a family member. But for those who would later piece together the events of that night, it became the chilling marker of her last known location. By morning, Dee Ann was gone. Her car remained in the driveway, her belongings undisturbed, yet she was nowhere to be found. Panic rippled through her family and friends as they realized something was horribly wrong. Law enforcement launched an immediate search, canvassing the neighborhood and interviewing anyone who had seen or interacted with her in the preceding hours. It became clear that this was not a case of voluntary disappearance. Something sinister had occurred, and every lead, no matter how small, mattered.
Investigators quickly discovered that Dee Ann had been in contact with a man whose background raised serious questions. Reports indicated he had a troubled history, including previous accusations of violence and an unsettling pattern of obsessive behavior. While the details were murky, the connection suggested that Dee Ann's disappearance was not random. It was targeted. Her friends recalled instances where she had mentioned feeling watched, and suddenly, those anecdotes took on a grave urgency. As days turned into weeks, the search expanded. Drones scoured wooded areas, dive teams checked nearby lakes, and volunteers combed through rural roads. Each tip was pursued meticulously, yet Dee Ann's trail seemed to vanish into thin air. Her phone remained silent, and her social media accounts showed no activity, deepening the mystery. The community, initially hopeful, began to feel the creeping despair that accompanies cases where every lead ends in frustration. Law enforcement faced a mounting pressure not only to find Dee Ann, but to understand the circumstances that led to her disappearance. The pieces of the puzzle, the text, the strange calls, the suspicious individual, hinted at a story far more complex and disturbing than anyone had imagined. Every day without her intensified the fear that something irreversible had happened. And then, a breakthrough came. Detectives discovered a surveillance clip from a nearby gas station showing Dee Ann walking with someone late that night. The image was grainy, the faces partially obscured, but the presence of another individual was undeniable. Questions began to flood in. Who was with her? Was this person a friend or something far more dangerous? And most importantly, where had they gone after leaving the camera's view? As investigators pieced together the evidence, the picture of that fateful night began to take shape, but it was a shape riddled with shadows. And while every clue brought them closer, it also deepened the uncertainty, leaving a question that haunted everyone who cared for Dee Ann. Who had she trusted that night, and could that trust have led her into the hands of a predator? With the community on edge and authorities racing against time, the search for Dee Ann Warner was far from over. Every moment that passed heightened the urgency, and the sense that the truth was just out of reach became almost unbearable. And then, just as hope began to flicker, a tip came in that would change everything.
The call came late in the evening, just as detectives were wrapping up another long day of searching and reviewing leads. The voice on the other end was hesitant, almost whispering, but the information it carried immediately electrified the investigation. A witness claimed to have seen a car matching the description of Dee Ann's vehicle parked near a remote stretch of road on the outskirts of town the night she disappeared. More importantly, the witness said they had seen her, alive, walking with someone unfamiliar. Detectives rushed to the area at first light, their urgency fueled by the slim hope that Dee Ann might still be found. The road was secluded, flanked by dense woods that seemed to swallow sound and light. Tire tracks in the dirt confirmed that a vehicle had indeed stopped there, but there was no sign of Dee Ann. A closer examination revealed faint footprints leading into the forest, partially obscured by fallen leaves and the morning mist. It was as if someone had vanished into thin air. The investigation began to focus on the mysterious man last seen with Dee Ann. Witness accounts and phone records painted a picture of someone who had been carefully orchestrating his movements. He had connections that extended beyond the local area, and prior criminal records suggested he was capable of manipulation and violence. Authorities began to piece together a timeline, identifying locations he had frequented and associates who might hold crucial information. Dee Ann's family, meanwhile, struggled with the agonizing uncertainty. Her mother, sister, and close friends huddled in her home, obsessively scanning news updates and social media posts for any clue. Each new lead brought hope, only to crush it moments later when the trail ran cold. The emotional toll was immense, and the sense of helplessness hung heavy in the air. Friends described nights filled with tears, phone calls that went unanswered, and a pervasive fear that Dee Ann might never return. Forensic teams combed through the areas surrounding the remote road, using every tool at their disposal: drones, ground sensors, and even search dogs. The forest yielded little except fragments: a discarded water bottle, a torn piece of fabric, and footprints that led in multiple directions. Experts noted that the subtle signs suggested she had not wandered off voluntarily. Someone had been there with her, and the evidence hinted at a confrontation. The pressure on law enforcement mounted as media attention intensified. Reporters camped outside the Warner home, broadcasting live updates and interviews with friends and neighbors. The narrative of a young woman disappearing under mysterious circumstances gripped the nation, and with each passing day, tips poured in from people claiming to have seen something, heard something, or known someone connected to the case. Each tip required careful vetting, and investigators learned quickly that the volume of information could be as overwhelming as it was critical. Then, a critical lead arrived from an unexpected source: a local taxi driver who often worked late-night shifts in the area. He remembered picking up a young woman matching Dee Ann's description near a gas station not far from the road described by the first witness. She had been with a man who insisted she remain quiet and follow his instructions. The driver recalled feeling uneasy, sensing that something was not right, but the passengers paid their fare and disappeared into the night before he could gather more details. This revelation added a new layer of urgency. Investigators now had multiple sightings linking Dee Ann to a man whose identity remained elusive. They expanded their search radius, analyzing traffic cameras, toll records, and even gas station receipts. Every movement had been calculated, and every clue suggested that the perpetrator had anticipated the investigation's response. As night fell over Georgia, the search teams regrouped, exhausted but undeterred. The forest loomed dark and silent, a vast expanse that seemed to guard its secrets jealously. The evidence hinted that Dee Ann had been taken farther than anyone initially imagined. Every step deeper into the woods, every hidden camera, and every witness recollection drew investigators closer, but the truth remained frustratingly out of reach. Then, just when the detectives thought they had exhausted all leads for the day, a call came that sent a shockwave through the department. The caller, voice trembling with urgency, claimed to know exactly where Dee Ann was and that she might still be alive. The details were sketchy, the directions cryptic, but the implications were staggering. If the information was true, it meant the case was far from over.
and that the next move could be the most dangerous yet.
Detectives arrived at the location described by the mysterious caller just as the first streaks of dawn painted the sky. The address led them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, a place long rumored to be a hideout for criminal activity. Its rusted gates creaked in the wind, and the broken windows reflected the pale morning light like watchful eyes. The air was thick with the scent of damp concrete and decay. Every step toward the building was deliberate. Officers fanned out, flashlights cutting through the darkness of the interior. Inside, the warehouse was a maze of crates, empty pallets, and shadows that seemed to shift as they moved. The atmosphere was tense, each creak or distant sound amplifying the fear that Dee Ann might be in immediate danger. Detectives called out her name, voices echoing against the walls, but only silence answered. Then, one of the junior officers noticed something unusual, a small trail of blood leading toward a back room. Their pace quickened, hearts pounding, the reality of what they might find pressing down on them. The trail ended at a heavy metal door, slightly ajar, which led into a pitch-black interior space. Forensic experts immediately got to work, documenting every inch of the scene. The warehouse had clearly been used recently. Discarded clothing, empty food containers, and smudged footprints indicated someone had been living there, possibly for days. But there was still no sign of Dee Ann. Then, a faint sound reached them, a muffled cry, barely audible, coming from deeper within the building. Detectives followed the sound, moving cautiously, every sense alert. The cries grew louder, and hope surged, but the path was obstructed by stacked crates and debris, forcing them to navigate a treacherous route through the darkness. Finally, they reached the small, windowless room, the walls scarred and stained, the air thick and suffocating. Inside, there was a chilling revelation, signs of struggle everywhere, overturned furniture, a shattered chair, and walls marked with frantic scratches. But Dee Ann was gone. Only one single clue remained, a note scrawled in haste, pinned to the wall with a rusty nail. The message was brief, cryptic, and terrifying. "You're too late. Watch closely." Panic and frustration surged through the team. Whoever had taken Dee Ann had anticipated the search and left deliberately misleading clues. Every detail of the warehouse had been staged to confuse and intimidate. Investigators realized they were not just dealing with a missing person. They were up against someone calculating, cruel, and determined to stay one step ahead.
Phone records and surveillance footage became the next priority. Detectives discovered a pattern, a series of short trips late at night, all traced to a network of abandoned properties across the county. It appeared the perpetrator had been moving Dee Ann carefully, keeping her out of reach while taunting authorities. The cruel precision was almost surgical. Meanwhile, the family's anguish deepened. They clung to every piece of information as if it were a lifeline. Nights were sleepless, filled with frantic calls to friends, relatives, and anyone who might know something. Each lead that proved false was a dagger to the heart. But hope remained alive, fragile but persistent. As investigators prepared to follow the next set of leads, something unexpected happened. A local informant, known for providing tips on criminal movements, made a late-night visit to the precinct. His face was pale, eyes wide with fear. He claimed he had overheard a conversation about Dee Ann's location, but what he revealed next froze everyone in place. "She's not just in one place. She's being moved," he whispered, voice shaking. "And if we're not careful, they'll disappear her forever." The implication was horrifying. Dee Ann's life was in imminent danger, and every hour that passed increased the risk. Detectives realized that the investigation had entered a dangerous new phase. Whoever was behind this had become more unpredictable, more desperate, and more dangerous. As night fell once again, the officers gathered around a map, plotting their next move. Every mark, every note, every surveillance camera feed had to be analyzed with precision. One wrong step could mean losing Dee Ann forever. The tension in the room was palpable, a mix of fear, urgency, and grim determination. And then, the phone rang. The voice on the other end was distorted, mechanical, almost mocking. The caller didn't identify themselves, but left one final message. "You'll never find her unless you're ready to face what's coming." The line went dead. Detectives stared at each other, the weight of the warning sinking in. The game had escalated, and Dee Ann's fate hung by a thread. Every lead now felt like a race against time, and every shadow seemed to conceal a threat. The next move could either save her or seal her fate forever.